La Liga and so forth, do you care? You don't care. You do not care. La Liga is racist. Let's start there. So I'm going to be very direct here because there's no point in mincing words or say maybe La Liga is racist. Same as Serie. And you see, we can't go on with the whole rinse and repeat after this Vini incident. What I've always said before, I'm not here to end racism. You cannot cure racism. It is a disease that human beings will always have for all time. Racism never dies, it just evolves into something else. And it will always be part. Some form of prejudice is just something that will be part and parcel of humanity. That is just a fact. Don't try and rationalize it. It is just what it is. It is just being human. It is what it is. It's what we have to deal with humanity. But you can't cure racism in football stadiums because the amounts of racial abuse, extremely audible racial abuse that we hear time to time in Serie and in La Liga, we don't hear it in the Bundesliga, in Liga, or in the EPL. When last did you hear in the EPL the kinds of audible chants outside a stadium and within a stadium towards a black player in the EPL? Because there was racism within stadiums in the first division. 100%, it was fully rampant from the 80s and before. But with the introduction of the Premier League and with the Premier League forcibly stamping it out of stadiums and out of the terraces, and how England evolved as a culture and became even more integrated, it therefore was pretty much moved. You're always going to have racial incidents, as you saw with Raheem Sterling and the Chelsea fans, but that Chelsea fan was dealt with. Same thing happened with the, I can't remember where he was from. Was it Palace? The fan who racially abused Heung-min Son. He was dealt with. Because for the EPL, they take racism seriously. Serie and La Liga do not take racism seriously. They do not. And that is the bottom line here. Spain as a country don't take racism seriously. Italy as a country do not take racism seriously. Every Spanish person I've spoken to has said, yes, there is a racist problem in Spain. And I can say it is to do with the little proximity they have to black people, how little integration there is within the culture. So they have a very stereotyped, basic, one-dimensional view of black people and so forth. But whatever the case may be, there is a racial problem in Spain. So when you look at that Vini incident, not just in the stadium, outside of the stadium, and the instances, it's rampant. Let's rewind the clocks back. Remember Luis Aragonés, who coached Spain to the Euro 08 win? Remember, there was a story where he told Jose Antonio Reyes that you were better than that black blah, 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 in reference to Henry when they were both playing for Arsenal. And then when England then went ahead and played Spain, I think it was even in Madrid, all of the black players received racial abuse. Slap on the wrist, move on. Because that's what's supposed to happen. Guys, it's rinse and repeat. We'll talk, stop racism. People will put their Instagram clicks on, hashtag, this is bad and so forth. Okay? A week will pass, 2 weeks will pass. A new football event will happen, a massive transfer, another football story. We'll go back to square one. And that's how it always happens. Rinse and repeat. Rinse and repeat. But moving on, I can't do that. So in my own little way, I have to be like, so from now on, we have to refer to it as the racist La Liga. So who is going to win the racist La Liga next year? I think Real needs to re-up and so forth, so maybe it could be a 3-horse race for the racist La Liga next year. And I do believe that it's going to be hard for Napoli to defend their racist Serie A title. See, so I'm going to use that word racist in there just to keep reminding people that, no, this is what this league is about. Because, you see, racism is bad business. It's bad business. Because I've always felt that, because I always noticed that the EPL, whenever Premier League teams would face La Liga teams, and then the Premier League teams would take a knee and the La Liga teams wouldn't. I've been critical of the whole taking a knee because it's very performative. You're not really doing anything and you're just doing it just to be like, yes, I am with the whole racism thing, even if you're not actually doing the real work. But the thought is there. So it is better to at least have the thoughts, have the intentions, than you're not bothered in the least. And La Liga and Serie, they're not bothered in the least with it. And this now comes to our dear friend Abdul, who you know on the streams. So I'm sure you've seen his tweets. I put them out, I retweeted them, and we've been going back and forth on Twitter. And he puts forth saying that racism is bad. What those Valencia fans did is bad. It is bad, it's bad. But Vini's behavior is also bad as well. And Vini provoked the fans. And if Vini did not provoke the fans, this wouldn't happen. Did Etso provoke the fans back when he was playing with Ronaldinho? And then Etso wanted to walk off and Dino tried to convince him to not go off and so forth. Was Etso provoking the fans? Did Ousmane Dembele provoke the fans as well? Did Umtiti provoke the fans as well? So I don't get that. Even if you do provoke these fans, stop treating these cretins, these low-life, satanic, filthy creatures with respect they don't deserve. Because it is a false equivalence of provoking within the sporting nature that everyone does in sports. Go watch the freaking NBA, showing off, provoking, showboating and so forth is part and parcel of sports. Trash talking is part of sports. I'm better than you. I'm richer than you. How many rings do you have? Oh, watch me. I'm going to beat you. That's why we loved Jordan. Trash talking, messing people off and talking. That and racism are two different things. How can you equate trash talking, which is what Vinny is doing? How can you equate trash talking, showboating, provoking other guys within a sporting nature to racism? Trash talking, that is in the paradigm of sport, and that's what makes sport exciting. I'm better than you, okay? I'm going to prove it, and I'm going to actually shut you up. It's why we love the NBA. Trash talking. How can I equate that to racism? Because racism, this is now real world stuff. So the issue here with Javier Tebas and so forth, and why I'm totally with Vinny, like, don't go to any of these meetings and so forth, because you're not serious. You're not serious. The fact that in 2023 this is still happening shows that you're not serious. So Vinny will go to those meetings, show up, do all the performative stuff, and we'll be back here again. Because if the culture itself, the country itself is racist, how the hell is anything going to change? Make no mistake, of course there's racism in England. Of course there's racism in Germany, France, and so forth. But I would very readily. I've already been to Paris. Well, I went to Germany. I was in Germany a long time ago. I think it was Bern, Germany a long time ago. But I would definitely go to a Munich, a Berlin, even Paris is tricky, a France, than go to a Spain or an Italy. Because the Germany, Italy, and England are further ahead in its racial thing than an Italy and a Spain. There is racism in Germany. There is racism in France. There's racism in England. But they are much further ahead than Italy and Spain, these guys are decades behind. They're decades behind. So the difficulty we have here is if the country itself is so backward and is living in the freaking dinosaur stone age, how do you even begin to try and now change the culture? Because here's the thing, this is the key thing. Football culture. So I was going to say we because I'm not in this though, but unfortunately I've got to be because I'm part of the group. Somehow as football fans we've allowed, that's the best way. We've allowed it to be acceptable for racism to be part of football culture. As I say, part of football banter. We've allowed that to happen, which is insane. So somehow People have said, "Oh, no, it's racism." Oh no, come on, it's just football talk. It's just part of it. It's like, no, 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 no. This is my sport. This is our sport. This is the beautiful game. Keyword: the beautiful game. How do you combine racism with beauty? Racism is literally one of the most ugliest things on planet Earth. So how is racism and beauty combined? Because that's an oxymoron. The beautiful game, racism. Racism, the beautiful game. How do you combine those things? I don't understand. So because here's the thing as well. And again, on Twitter, it was such a back and forth on Twitter that we were having. Because I want to just keep this strictly football, but obviously because it's racism, dipping my toe just in the whole racial discussion here. People have to understand the pyramid structure here. Whites at the top, blacks at the bottom. Because I got attacked for like a word that I said that you can't be racist to white people. And you can't. And the only mistake I made with that statement is not all white people are under there. Because the Irish, the Slavics, and so forth, they received that racism. When I've lived in England, I know the kinds of things that people said towards the Irish, and I know the kinds of things people have said towards the Polish. Trust me, the kind of things that English say towards the Polish and their attack on Eastern Europeans and Polish is crazy. But for the white English, the white Portuguese, the white Spanish, the white French, who you're the purveyors of the oppression that is linked to the system of racism, saying, man, you white English thing like that isn't racism. It's just an insult. Because racism is a system of oppression. And you have to understand the pyramidic system, which is the whites at the top. The specific whites, i.e. white English, white Portuguese, and so forth. Then in the middle, the Asians, the Latinos, the Indians, the Pakistanis, and everyone in the middle. And then at the very bottom, it's us, the blacks. Because I always say that everyone wants to be black. Nobody really wants to be black. So those Spanish and Italian guys who are racist, they'll listen to rap music, they'll have the slang, yo, what's up and everything. They'll dress black and be into the black culture, but then they'll spew racism. So they'll use everything from you, use everything from your culture, but then they'll still hate you. That's the dynamic. Because let's be real, it's just how the world is. And you see, people view this whole thing of, well, racism happens to everyone. That's in the ideal sense. We don't live in an ideal world. We live in the real world. And in the real world, you have to understand the power dynamics. And in the real world, blacks are at the bottom. Okay? We are the most vilified and the most hated race. Because within media, and just how things have been for decades is black is ugly, black is trash, black is a criminal, black is a thug, black is stupid, black is backward, black isn't evolved, black are monkeys, black are gorillas, black are not as sophisticated, black are unclean. And these are the stereotypes that are put in so places in Italy and Spain who don't understand this. Every time I've spoken to Italian people in London who've said that, yeah, I've left Italy because, and I don't want to go back to Italy, experience in London because in Italy everybody's very close-minded. And they're very narrow-minded, have a very narrow-minded point of view because they've not really been exposed to the world. So the way you solve this, and going back to this, how do you solve this? Because again, we're here about solutions. There's no point to be like, oh no, it can be solved. I'm a guy that likes to make solutions. How do you solve this? To solve this, you've got to change Spain. Spain has to change. The way Spain is, culturally, isn't like England. Specifically, London. Let's say we use the big cities. The way Madrid is, ain't like Paris, ain't like Berlin, Munich, ain't like London. Because there's racism in London. There's racism in Paris, there's racism in Munich and Berlin, there's racism. But they have made more strides, larger strides, than in Madrid or in Milan, Rome, and so forth. Because By just the virtue of the kind of racism we're still seeing in 2023 in Serie and La Liga, it just shows you how much further behind they are than Germany, than France, and England, who, despite the still racism there, they've made more strides. So for Spain, you've got to sort out the country itself. You've got to expose yourself to black people. You've got to integrate, because if you don't integrate, how's it going to change? Because for that Valencia supporter, Atletico Madrid supporter, no, it's part and parcel. This is part of football culture. So it's so ingrained in them and so ingrained into their football culture that they want to pervade. So I don't want to hear this crap about end racism. I don't care about the racist in his private place. Be racist, and if life is fair, you'll rot in hell. But don't be racist to me, because we're going to have issues. And don't bring racism to the beautiful game, because we'll have issues. Be racist in your private home. I don't give a crap. Please be racist in your private home. Because I'm not here to, oh my gosh, let's work together and let's be as one race. No, I'm not here about this one race. No, like, I understand how the world works. That's how I was maybe several years ago, not how I am now. So, and I think that Vini is so key. And why? Because we're talking about this in the group chats with Paul, who, Madrid supporter. What Vini is doing is so key because he's not quiet. He's outspoken. Because he's outspoken, he has been so important in this, which is why what Abdul said about provoking, Abdul, you're being such a fool. By Vini provoking them, it has brought this to light in such a colorful way. It is now put on a large magnifying glass on Spain. Because right now, the conversation right now is about, no, forget La Liga, Spain. Forget La Liga, what is up with the country of Spain? We look at the history, look at the colonialism, it all makes sense. England have a colonial past, so do France. But look at where they are now. Because my thing is that there's no excuse. Look at the EPL. When last did you hear the kind of racist incidents with the kind of occurrence that you see in Serie and La Liga? It doesn't happen. If it does happen, which I can remember, if it does happen, it doesn't happen with the frequency that it happens in Serie and La Liga. Because guys, we know it. Every single time on Twitter, there's a racial incident. It's either Serie or La Liga. Serie, La Liga. Serie, La Liga. Guys, it's been happening since I've been watching football. Since I've been watching football, it's been happening. And it's still in 2023. So, but again, guys, you have to be very clear here. It's about solving racism in football, which can happen. But the key thing is that do you care? Do La Liga and so forth, do you care? You don't care. You do not care. Because we're still here. It is proof you don't care because we're still here. Guys, how many times have we had this conversation? Guys, we've been here several times. Let's keep it a stack. We've been here several times. And the fact that we've been here several times shows that you do not care. Don't treat me as a fool. Because I'm not going to be like, oh, this is racism and we must fight, we must change. No. The definition of madness is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So, from henceforth, until things change, I will refer to you as a racist La Liga and a racist Serie. So every time I'm doing an analysis, you will now be known as a racist Serie, racist La Liga. So when a non-football person says, wait, what do you mean by racist? I said, no, the official name is racist La Liga. I said, why is it called racist La Liga? Oh, because the league is racist? Here is why. Do you really want the word racist? Because you can be racist, I know. Racism, cool. Racism is bad business. You've lost Messi. You've lost Cristiano. Racism is bad business. Racism, nobody wants the stink of racism. And at the end of the day, you want global eyeballs on your sport and on your league. So, fine. Racism. Business. Money. Cash. Shout out to your boy Mike. He made that point. If you start harming those pockets and that's money, because if you have the stink of racism on La Liga and so forth, and now that goes global, into this, oh, that place is racist. Oh, that place is racist. Woo! Don't come to America with that crap. Wait, how are you now promoting your racist La Liga on American sports? No. We'll talk more about it, maybe on a live on So the Ball that is my thoughts on this matter. Please comment below. Let's have an interesting discussion on this. But Vinny, man, don't be quiet, man. Be annoying. Be agitative. Because that's what Malcolm X would do.